What are the biggest digital rights issues that major publishers are facing these days?
I think right now there are really two issues. The first one is piracy. I think everyone would agree that that's a big concern. I don't think that DRM is the answer, though. It seems, and I know O'Reilly does not use DRM.
Sure.
It seems as though that's just hurting the people that did pay for the product and just want to share a copy with their friends. Or, as the speaker said this morning, hurts people who have disabilities and may not be able to access the text. So I think what the solutions being looked at now are stronger enforcement against the sites that provide these pirated copies. And there's a proposal for some new digital copyright laws. Obama has appointed this new intellectual property enforcement coordinator who is going to be proposing new laws to Congress soon. And looking at shutting down those sites, seizing their domains, cutting off their access to financial transaction providers. I think those are going to be more the types of solutions that are looked at. And then the other big issue that I see is with publishing contracts and licensing of digital rights. Electronic rights were subsidiary rights under most traditional contracts, and now they are moving to the forefront. They're much more important. And the royalties for electronic rights, right now, that's an area that's being hotly debated, and the major publishers are sort of holding right now at this 25% net point. But I think competitive pressures are going to increase in that area, and authors are going to want to see more of a fair sharing of the royalties. But I think there's the pressure now to maintain the status quo because there are thousands of contracts out there that once they do raise that rate, it's going to trigger clauses that will require them to go back and renegotiate or raise rates for lots of other authors as well. So I think those are the two biggest issues currently that they're facing.
So it's a pretty active space right now.
Yes.
It seems like. You mentioned authors, and that sort of segues into, I wanted to flip this a little bit and say, what should authors be thinking about in terms of the digital rights and the legal side of things right now?
Well, I think an important thing for authors to think about is rather than think in terms of, I want to sell my book, think about, I want to license all of my intellectual property rights, and realize that it's not just your book per se. It may be electronic rights, it may be multimedia rights, maybe all these other areas that your book may be exploited. And before you enter into an agreement, make sure you understand it. Make sure you read through it and you understand how you're granting those rights. And if you're granting them all of your rights to one particular publisher, do they have the ability and the plan to really roll out those other platforms for you and really exploit those rights? I would also say don't forget about trademarks. Authors are being told now they have to get out there, they have to market themselves, they are their brand.
Right.
Don't forget to register your trademark, your name, register your domain name, as well as for your books. Interesting.
So do you think that down the road, I'm not going to ask you exactly when this will happen, but do you think that territorial rights will eventually end?
Well, I think you're seeing more of that happening with the Bloomsbury restructuring recently, and the major retailers. Those are global businesses and global distribution platforms. But I think that I can't predict the future exactly when this will happen. I think the concerns right now are differences in tax laws, as well as antitrust, intellectual property, that might make more sense for some companies to keep those segmented. And I think it also raises that same issue of, if you put everything under one roof, is that publisher in the best position to sell into those channels and exploit all those rights in those different local markets?
Right. So last question I had for you, and it's broadening the scope of this a little bit, but I know you have some previous experience going through the digital disruption in some adjacent industries. What mindset would you recommend publishers adopt to maybe make this a little less painful, presuming it's going to be painful regardless?
Well, I think the only mindset that you can adopt is just embrace the apocalypse. It's happening, and you can't, you can't survive if you just try and deny that it's happening or delay that it's happening. I think that's what you definitely saw in music. But at the same time, I think that it is happening faster for books because there's really just that single revenue source, just the sale of books. Whereas with music and with film, there are these other revenue sources. But I like to think that books are more similar to film than music in this case. I think, we had cable TV, that was supposed to be the end of film. Then you had home video, and now we're having, internet TV. And I think that people still want to go to a theater. They like having all of that, but box office has actually been going up.
Right.
And I think that is hopefully what we will see in the publishing area, where it'll be a split market. Digital may, in fact, become the default or the majority, but there will still be a split market, and people will want to have both of those reading experiences.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.